Hi, AJ Hartley here, novelist, Shakespeare professor, fan of, in this case, Atarashii Gakko, and other Japanese music, coming to you today from a hotel room in Colorado, so it's a very exciting backdrop. I was going to talk today about an earlier song, it's off their second album, Mayoeba To, which was recommended to me by somebody who wanted to sort of get to the heart of the song because they recognize, I think, rightly, that this is an Atarashii Gakko anthem. I've been listening to this song for about, 3 years now. It came out in 2019. It was off their second album, Wakage ga Iteru, which translates as something like youthful passion or ardor. It's clearly a descendant of the previous album, 2018's Mainawa Wanai, and this is also written by HZM, the anchor of the jazz trio, the Z Trio, that defines much of their first two albums, a sound which I think has been coming back in some of their recent material. It has that jazzier kind of feel, but also a very analog sound in its electric instruments. So you hear, for instance, that very fuzz-heavy guitar, which is reminiscent of, some early punk bands, but also I think you hear it in a group like Glim Spanky, that kind of sound. So let's quickly walk through the lyric. There are a number of translations out there for the song. Most of them are pretty good, but there are some points where I think some clarification or modification might be worth addressing. And the title is one of them. Mayoeba To frequently gets translated as if you get lost, which is not really nailing the core idea of the song, I don't think. I would call it something like getting lost is precious. And getting lost doesn't mean just geographically, it means getting confused, getting lost in the sense of I can't do this assignment or something, right? But the title of the song and the core idea throughout the song is that getting confused by what you're doing is of itself valuable. Hontoni jiyu te nandaro na. What's true freedom? Otona futara shochu shinai. I don't accept that it's just being like an adult, or that freedom is somehow reserved for being an adult, right? This is the sort of basic idea that we're trying to find freedom as young people, right? This is Atarashii Gakko's core idea, their sort of flagship position as representation of a new wave of Japanese youth, hence the school uniform, hence the name of the group, which means new school leaders, the leaders of the new school. So we don't accept that freedom is something simply about being an adult. Jibun de mitsuketai kara hottoite. I want to find out for myself, so leave me alone, right? So one of the ideas that gets thrown out early is that school kids spend a lot of the time, as the video suggests, spend a lot of the time in the classroom being taught things. But there are some things that you have to figure out for yourself. So don't try to tell me how to do this. Ittai kose te nandaro na. This frequently gets translated as something like, what on earth is individuality? I think it might be better translated as, how am I supposed to figure out or to know what it means to be me? This idea of part of what youth is about determining the kind of adult you're going to be. It's not something that you defer to adulthood. It's something that you build, right? But it's difficult because you don't know where you're going to go. You don't know what kind of a person you're going to be. How am I supposed to figure this out? O karanai kara itte mite. I'm not going to get angry, so just tell me if you know, which is pertinent to the next line. Shitaka futa anata wa damatoite. If you don't know, shut up. Don't instruct me if you don't know how to do this. And then we move into this first chorus. This is a song that I thought I understood really. I thought it was a very simple song, but the more I sort of spent time with it and looking at the lyrics, it's a little more complicated than I thought, partly because, as I say, some of the translations are a little patchy. So, Saino nante, yujo nante. The key words are Saino and yujo, which means talents, friendships. Nante is a tricky word, and it doesn't really come in until the key part of the sentence concludes. So for now, let's just say your talents, your friendships, and then shorai nante, gaiken nante, your future, your appearance. Mayoeba to toshi. So they get lost. But then getting lost is precious. So the way that I'm reading it is to say that the things that get listed, the categories that get listed, talent, friendship, your future, your appearance, are all going to get messy, and that's okay. More to the point, you shouldn't obsess about them. You shouldn't become too preoccupied with them. You're supposed to be allowed to make mistakes. And if you spend too much time thinking about something like your future, shorai, then you don't actually live in the present, right? So these are things that people obsess about, particularly in that sort of high school period and immediately after. Your talents, right? These are the things you're going to build your life on. Your friendships, what your future is going to be, what you look like. And none of this stuff actually matters. It will all finally sort of work itself out. But you have to allow yourself the space to explore and to make mistakes and to get things wrong, to figure out who you're going to be. Hanko shitate, moso shitate. So you're going to rebel, you're going to be deluded. Kato shitate, kokai shitate. You'll be conflicted, you'll be regretful, right? It's not just, some of the translations just sort of say rebellion, delusion, conflict, regret. Reducing them to nouns, I think, kind of misses the point. And I want to shout out here to David Boyd from UNC Charlotte's Japanese Studies Department, who helped me unpack some of this stuff. Because I think the idea is that all of these things, good things and bad things, are going to happen to you, and you just have to sort of keep going. You're going to rebel, and you're going to make mistakes about which side you want to be on. You're going to be deluded, you're going to feel conflicted, and you're going to do and say things that you're going to regret, because this is all part of the process. Susumeba, 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 sono uchi. So you keep going forward. Move forward, move forward, move forward. And the repetition of the word in time with the music says, emphasizes that sense of constant effort and forward movement. Eventually, sono uchi. Afure dasu kono kanjo owaranai michi no saki. As you reach the end of this seemingly endless road, these feelings are going to flow over you. Mayoeba susumu kosoga seishin. Continue pressing on no matter how you feel, because that's what youth is about. So you're going to go through all this difficult stuff, you're going to face all this hardship of one kind or another, but you keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and eventually you will receive some kind of satisfaction. And the struggle is part of the nature of youth, of adolescence. And you keep going no matter what. This is a very Japanese idea, right? And we see versions of it in less specific terms in songs by Baby Metal and other groups from Japan. Next verse. Ikura nagamete mitate imi no wakannai kyokasha. So, no matter how much I look at the textbook, I don't understand what it means. This gives me flashbacks. This is a classic high school insight, right? And everybody else seems to be getting it, and you're going over and over and over, and it's just not going in. It's not making sense. I guess whatever anyone tells you to do as you like. Follow your own wishes, your own desires. So if society is confining you, it's holding you back, then you have to step away from it. And society can mean any sort of social relationships, including friendships, right? If the group that you're involved in, if that's somehow stifling you, then in some ways you have to step outside it. So this is, again, a very Atarashii Gakko kind of idea, moving towards some sort of individuality and an exploration of that individualism. So personality, or the individual, grows and changes, evolves almost like a flower blooming in a field out in the wild. It doesn't appear suddenly, and it isn't constant. That's the implication, that your version of yourself is like a flower which is going to change color and grow and do different things, as is natural. Other people can't teach you this. Jibun no tame dake. So, that's the dakara from the previous line, I can only rely on myself for answers. Nobody else can teach me this. I got to find out for myself. Sagashi tsuzuke motome tsuzukeru. So keep looking, keep searching for the answers, right? Which from the previous line, the dake. I can't find these things by myself. We get this frantic instrumental break, and in live performances you see Suzuka doing her little guitar solo impression. The franticness, I think, of the song overall, the musicality of it, and it has that real melodic quality, but it also it's underscored with this very scratchy, sharp-edged, fuzz-boxy jazz ensemble, right? It's clearly a rock song, but it has intonations of jazz, and it's very analog. You hear the keyboard, you hear that sort of odd organ type sound, harmonium or something like that, but there's a rawness to it that I think fits the idea of the song. You know, this is not a polished thing, this is not a smooth, and I think it so suits a band like Atarashii Gakko, and it's part of what makes them not typical of idol groups and a lot of other sort of pre-packaged bands, that there's a rough and ready quality to them. In spite of their talent and their presence, that you get the feel that they are making stuff up as they go, you know, and they play down their attractiveness, their pop star idol-y kind of qualities, that they are genuinely positioning themselves as representations of all young people. You see that in the school uniform, which is their sort of battle armor, the standard way of presenting themselves, but also when you see them when they're not wearing the uniform, particularly in live shows, and they're wearing very ordinary clothes, and they're clearly trying to make a connection with the audience, and you see that, the attempt to include and represent the audience. I love this. This is something I talk a lot about with baby metal as well. I think in some ways with Atarashii Gakko, the connection between the two is even greater because there's less persona, that they are clearly supposed to be representatives of the audience themselves. And then we go into a repeat. It's the same thing. Saino nante, yujo nante, your talents, your friendships. Shorai nante, gaiken nante, your future, your appearance. Mayoeba to toshi. They all get lost. All of these things get lost. But getting lost is a good thing, and you should keep striving. Hanko shitate, moso shitate, you're going to rebel, you're going to get deluded. Kato shitate, kokai shitate, you'll be conflicted, you'll be regretful. Susumeba, sono uchi, keep moving forward. Keep moving. I don't know why this... why does that... I don't know. Whatever. Man, I must be very tired. Yeah, but the impulse, the repetition of it, you know, because this is not, it's not going to be a one-time thing. You've got to keep going. Funedasu, kono kanjo owaranai, michi no saki, Mayoeba susumu kosogaseshin. So as you reach the end of this endless road, these feelings flow over you, so you continue to press on no matter how lost you might feel, because this is what youth is about. Tail end of the song, we get these final three lines, which sound a lot like the three lines with which we open, but are subtly different. Honto no jibun te nandaru na. So we started off asking about the nature of freedom, but now we're saying Honto no jibun, self. Hontono, the true. What is it? What's the true self? What does it mean to be truly yourself? Otono dattara dodaru ne. You think it's like being an adult, right? Right? I mean, the you is implied. I'm adding that, but that ne on the end suggests it's a sort of conversational. Yeah, it's like being an adult. That's what it is to be yourself. And then the final line, kibunde sagashite kara hottoite. I want to find out for myself in my own way, so leave me alone. So freedom is not simply about being an adult. It's about having the right to discover the person that you are as a young person and build from that, make your own mistakes and keep going forward, and things will eventually fall into place. So it's uplifting, but also, I think, quite powerful, energetic, and both exciting and fragile. And I think they're embracing both, which is pretty great. Their energy, their commitment, their talent, of course, and their support of each other, but also the spontaneity that you see. They're carefully drilled and practiced, but when things go wrong or they improvise something on the spot, they're absolutely in the moment. They're absolutely present on stage, which is what you always want, I think, from any performer, actor, or a band of some sort. And I just love their energy, and I don't just mean the frenetic quality of their movement, but there's a sort of an aura about them, you know. That sounds a bit mystic, but a positivity and a vulnerability and openness that I find really compelling and actually quite emotive, you know. I mean, I love the sort of high energy stuff, but they're so out there, so unprotected somehow, you know, that they leave everything out for on stage, and there's an honesty, a candor. I've talked about this before, but it's something that I really value in some of this stuff. And it goes entirely along with the content of this song, right? That this is a song about youth and getting things wrong, but trying anyway. And that's exactly what they are doing all the time. Yeah, what their presence on stage models the song. The vulnerability, the determination to keep going, to keep trying. And there's an openness and youthful spirit to it that I find compelling and nostalgic. I think that's part of why I like these guys, that the way that they are a sort of that they're channeling their own youth and inventiveness and optimism it's like why a lot of older readers read young adult literature, right? Because it takes them back to a time when there were all these new things and possibilities, and there were problems and difficulties, but you're sort of trying to carve out a version of the adult that you're going to be, and that's a really exciting thing. It's a thing full of promise, right? That image of the flower, the personality as a flower which grows, and it's going to change, and the colors are going to alter, but that's how it's supposed to be. And I think they capture that really well, and the excitement of that, but also, you know, from the perspective of somebody on the other side of youth, something of the nostalgia and the fragility of it. The flower image, which comes up a number of times, right? They use it in Otonna Baru, which is also a song about wanting to be an adult, kind of. And that image of something beautiful which is unfolding, but which is also vulnerable and frail and not long-lived, I think is part of the undercurrent of poignancy that I hear even in a song as upbeat as this, which is not to bring it down. I think that's part of the yin-yang of a lot of good art, that in moments of the greatest beauty and happiness, there's a touch of poignancy, if only because you know it can't continue forever, right? Because we are creatures of time, and time changes things. So, yeah. Isn't it awesome? I love the energy, the dynamism, the forthrightness, the openness, and the sense that they are having a great time, but that they're also throwing themselves into it 100%, and that there's this sense of mutual support on stage in the performance all the time. Even though Suzuka mostly takes the lead, that they're absolutely supportive of each other, right? In terms of the song Pirotes off the first album, which is about that, about support structures and the way that people support each other. So obviously Suzuka takes the lead on this, but there are a lot of moments within the song where everybody is participating communally and singing the same line. There's a little harmony here and there, but for the most part, they're all together. They don't sort of switch off in the ways that they do in some of the other songs. And I think that is also significant in that this is a song about a shared youthful experience. So even though we're constantly saying, I have to find out for myself, what we're actually seeing on stage is a sense of community, of individuals finding out for themselves and being mutually supportive in the process. And I think that's cool. And I think it's one of the reasons that this song is still in their repertoire. You know, they've produced so much new stuff. There's a new song, I think, coming out later today when I'm recording this. It'll be out by the time you see this. So there's a tremendous amount of new material. I don't know what they're going to play when I see them next month. And I hope this song is still in the set list, because it's clearly a kind of anthem of what they stand for. It would be interesting if they don't play it on the US tour, because they're clearly using this as a fairly significant song in Japan. You know, I've seen them use this as their encore song a couple of times. And I think it speaks to a Japanese audience in very particular ways about banding together and standing up for the value of youth, particularly in a society which historically has tended to favor age and experience over youth and inexperience. And what they're championing is the value of those things. I think that's all I'm going to say. So as ever, please like, comment, subscribe. If you have other songs that you would like me to talk about by AG or anybody else, let me know. Check out my Patreon page. Thank you to all my patrons who help, justify me continuing to make these little videos. If you haven't already done so, please consider checking out my books, of course, particularly Hideki Smith, Demon Queller. And that's all for now. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.